Tamil Nadu Chief Minister M.K. Stalin has welcomed Supreme Court's verdict in the case filed by the Tamil Nadu government against the governor for delaying assent to the bills passed by state legislature. Now, while addressing the Tamil Nadu Legislative Assembly, Chief Minister Stalin called Supreme Court's ruling a historic and a landmark judgment. He stated that the verdict validated state government's position that the governor's prolonged delay in granting assent to bills was in fact unconstitutional. Now, Chief Minister Stalin emphasized that this ruling is not just a victory for Tamil Nadu but a win for all Indian states, reinforcing the principles of federal governance and democratic functioning. Speaking on the matter, Chief Minister Stalin said, and I quote, the Tamil Nadu government has achieved a historic legal victory in the case concerning governor's conduct. The Supreme Court has clearly ruled that the governor's delay in granting assent to the bills is unconstitutional, unquote. He further said that the ruling is not just a win for Tamil Nadu, as I mentioned earlier, but a victory for Indian states. He said that the Supreme Court has now recognized validity and constitutional basis of Tamil Nadu's argument, and this judgment sets a crucial precedent and holds the rights of elected state governments across the country. And a historic and a landmark judgment there for the Tamil Nadu government as far as the ongoing tiff between Governor R.N. Ravi and the state government is concerned. We'll try and get you all the details as to what has really transpired between the governor and all the bills that governor has been holding on to in just a bit from now, with my colleague Krishna Kumar joining us live from newsroom. But for now, let's quickly listen into that reaction that came in.
So the most important part of today's judgment is that this court not only set aside the actions of the governor in reserving the bills and sending them to the President of India after the bills had been passed second time by the legislature of Tamil Nadu. It has not only been set aside, they have not only been set aside, but this court has exercised its power under Article 142 and directed that all the 10 bills will be deemed to have obtained the assent of the governor. So they don't need to go back to the governor, and they have become an act of the state of Tamil Nadu. That's the most important part. Apart from this court has once again provided that the governors must act according to their dignity, according to the constitutional norms of parliamentary democracy, and they should not frustrate the attempts of the state legislatures to pass laws, and they must act as an advisor only and not as an obstructive machinery. So they don't have power to just simpliciter, withhold, or veto, or pigeonhole. They have also provided timelines of 1 month to 3 months for exercising power under Article 200 of the Constitution.
All right, what does that ruling really mean for constitutionality and the provisions for governor's powers? Let's talk about that. Krishna Kumar joining us live from newsroom. Krishna, M.K. Stalin suggesting that it's a big victory not just for the state of Tamil Nadu, but throughout the country, because it really goes on to tell you that a governor cannot hold bills if the state legislature has passed them.
Right, and in this particular case, the state legislature had passed them twice, and that's the rule. The governor can send a bill back for consideration to the state assembly, but if the state assembly passes it again, the governor has no choice under Article 200 of the Constitution but to pass the bill. So what happens when a bill comes for consideration to the governor, and what happens therefore from that perspective? This has been hailed as a historic judgment by M.K. Stalin. But bear in mind that at the outset, it's a big victory for the DMK at the top court in India. The top court clearly, in this case, coming down heavily on R.N. Ravi, the Tamil Nadu governor. Bear in mind the relationship between R.N. Ravi, the Tamil Nadu governor, and the Tamil Nadu government led by the DMK. It's no secret. It's been frosty ever since R.N. Ravi took charge in the year 2021. There have been many incidents in which there have been very embarrassing displays of disaffection, if I may, between these two sides. And R.N. Ravi has walked out on occasions when the national anthem was not played at the beginning of a state government function where he wanted it to be played at the beginning. However, the original custom is to play the Tamil Thai Varthu, or the Tamil song first, and then play the national anthem at the end. He had walked out in protest as well. So there have been many issues back and forth between the Tamil Nadu government and the Tamil Nadu governor, and in that context, it's a big victory for the DMK. The judgment, the two-judge bench of the Supreme Court of India, led by J.M. Pardiwala, making it very clear that the governor should have found one way or the other to pass these 10 pending bills, and especially after the fact that when it was sent for reconsideration to the Tamil Nadu Assembly and got passed again, he had to have done it. And what the Supreme Court of India has done is that it has chosen this occasion to set down the ground rules with what happens when it comes to bills being passed by governors in states.
All right. In fact, the court there ruling very clearly that if a bill is presented to a governor after reconsideration by the State Assembly, she must clear it within a month. And that's the timeline that the Supreme Court has set in. And any exercise of governor under Article 200, the court said, is amenable to judicial review, as well as saying that this is in no way undermining governors' power. Krishna, this is an interpretation of what a governor can really do in a state, and I think this is also going to pave the way for a lot of other states where perhaps the ruling government is not very happy with governors' powers and to what extent they exercise it.
Exactly. This will certainly set a precedent. This particular verdict will be quoted time and again in similar such issues in other states going forward. And the Supreme Court, in that sense, that's the reason why the nature of this judgment is such that it is to define the parameters. And more importantly, although it has come down heavily on R.N. Ravi for withholding these 10 bills, as you're rightly pointing out, it has made it very clear that explaining the intricacies of what happens when a bill comes to be presented to the governor is in no way an effort to undermine the powers of the governor per se that he's entitled to under the Constitution. So the Supreme Court making it clear that this is a particular instance where it is coming down heavily on the Tamil Nadu governor for withholding these 10 bills in this particular case. But the fact of the matter is that governors have the powers that are enshrined in the Constitution, but at the same time, the state and the government too have their own powers. It's basically drawing a line in the sand. It's demarcating
Absolutely.
where the governor's power begin and where the governor's powers end.
Demarcating and making that line very clear as to where governor's powers end. Krishna, please stay with us. We do have another reaction that has come in from Satish Chand, I'm given to understand, a lawyer in court after that verdict. Let's listen in.
The Supreme Court has given a verdict, especially on Article 200. According to my understanding, unless otherwise the full judgment comes out, whether it is a procedural aspect, it has been shown as illegal, or from the point of the Constitution, it is shown as illegal. So there are two ways of analyzing and or seeing the perusing the judgment. So I feel that in this case, it might be based on the procedural aspects and not on the constitutional aspect, because the rights of the governor is clearly stated in Article 200 that there are 4 ways of which he can give the assent to the bill, or he can return the bill, or he can refer the bill to the president. But in this case, especially on this 10 bills issue, we have to go through the judgment in full by seeing whether in what date he has kept the bill and what date is got returned, and all these date-wise things has to be seen. That's what I personally feel. Unless otherwise the judgment comes in full, we cannot jump into conclusion that the governor is totally wrong in this aspect. I want to see whether the time limit set for this case, or there is an observation or finding, or maybe because Article 200 does not say about the time limit up to what time it can be kept pending. because now this is a new rule set by the Supreme Court, and that may be a precedent for the subsequent cases, because Article 200 so far does not say about the time limit. Now the Supreme Court has set a time limit. In this case, it requires an amendment in the Constitution also. That's what I personally feel. So unless otherwise the Constitution is getting amended, especially on the time limit aspect at present, though the action of the governor has been said that it is illegal as of today, if the time limit is set, then you cannot say in the subsequent cases but the time limit has to be followed. In case it is not followed, then it can be said illegal. But in this case, presuming that it is an illegal because of an unlimited, without giving any response, or for unlimited time, the governor has taken his own time for keeping the bill pending. That may be called as an erroneous on his part, but we cannot say this is a very big victory for Tamil Nadu government. That's what I personally feel. But it is a good advice, or maybe even to the parliament, to amend the constitution, Article 200 in this aspect, especially because most of the states are facing the same problem, maybe to some extent by questioning the governor in this aspect. But I welcome the even in the previous programs also, I very well stated that it requires a time limit for which amendment is required in the Article 200. Now the Supreme Court has now I'm saying from your caption, I'm seeing that it has fixed a time limit. If the time limit is set, then it requires an amendment in the Constitution also.
That is Satish Kumar, advocate, Madras High Court, telling whether it's a victory for the government of Tamil Nadu or an interpretation of Article 200. A time limit has now been set up by the Supreme Court, which will in the long run require changes in Article 200 as far as powers of the governor is concerned. Krishna, before I let you go, going back to what we were discussing earlier, and that is the rift between the governor R.N. Ravi as well as the government of Tamil Nadu, and this is perhaps the latest in a blow-by-blow account of what is happening in the state, where the government continues to accuse R.N. Ravi of being a BJP spokesperson, of trying to hinder any development work that Stalin and his government is trying to bring in.
Absolutely, and that call by them that R.N. Ravi is a BJP spokesperson will get louder. After this particular judgment, there's going to be celebration in the DMK camp with a judgment like this in their hands. So they can clearly go on the offensive against R.N. Ravi from here on. To things actually getting difficult. I'm just wondering at this stage, thinking out loud, will R.N. Ravi rebut or probably file find legal recourse to this particular judgment or not is something that we don't know at this stage. But what it does is that it does give in the ongoing spat, the ongoing rift, the ongoing cold tensions between the cold and hot tensions between the DMK and the governor. It's a win in that context for the DMK, and it really puts the Tamil Nadu governor in a tight spot.